Why? This Terrance Gangsta Williams, aka OG Giggity. I had wrote a few books while I was incarcerated. And one of the books is called The Streets Raised Me. Back then I had used a picture of Birdman and myself for the book cover because he was talking about doing a movie called Fast Money. And I remember seeing a Complex magazine. And in the Complex magazine, there's a few other magazines that started doing the same thing. I'm not saying Complex magazine was the first one to do this. Let me correct that. But it's like, when you look at a magazine one way, then once you get to the middle, you got to flip the magazine around to go back the other way. Well, I had never seen a hood novel like that. So I was like, man, it'd be pretty cool if, for my part 2, that once you read part 1, you turn the book around, flip it over, and read part 2 back the other way. So I had a book cover made like this, like in the early 2000s. And it was, it came out pretty cool. So I had, while I was in USP McQuarrie, in 2005, I had came across one of my Muslim brother from Philly, whose name is Sharif or Ali, and he edited the book for me and added a few more words and tightened it up for me. So it was also written by him as well. And I decided to do a little audio with it, and I might do a chapter at a time so you all can take a journey with me to see how I used to write back. This like 2002, 2003 somewhere, and I had all the way to 2005 when I met him, and he went on and tighten it up a little bit for me. So check it out. Tell me what you all think. And I got a few more that I had wrote while I was incarcerated that Birdman was interested in doing a movie with at one time, once upon a time. So I don't know now, but I'm gonna let y'all check it out. Tell me what y'all think. Say no to drugs, stop the violence, put these guns down. And this book is just for pure entertainment purpose only. So don't go tell my OG gig, did this really happen? Who did this? Oh, I think I remember that. This is, don't be trying to guess nothing and all that. Just check out the book, man. I'm out. Wah.
The Streets Raised Me by Terrance Gangsta Williams. Chapter 1, Where Will I Turn? Paul Ford is rated by Sports Illustrated as the #1 high school basketball player in the United States, averaging 29.8 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 blocks, and 4 steals per game. He's branded man-child by collegiate and professional basketball scouts. At just 16, he stands 6'2" and weighs 185 pounds. His jab step is as smooth as silk, and he's often compared to Dwayne Wade of the Miami Heat. Booker T. Washington is receiving unprecedented attention due to the remarkable skills of Paul Ford. The Big Apple has given birth to the next Hank Gathers, or so it thinks. Booker T's coach, Coach Neely, wants to ensure his prodigy's phenomenal success by winning the state's championship, along with capturing a special accolade for himself: the warranted recognition of being New York's most esteemed coach. It's already October, and basketball season is already heating up. Coach Neely's shot callers have a starting record of 8 wins and 0 losses. Tonight's game is big. The shot callers must face the Bronx's own Terror Squad, who also have an impressive record of 9-1. Tonight's game is expected to be a preview of this year's state championship. As Paul starts the day for school, he selects something eye-catching. Though he always dresses up to par, tonight's big game suggests that his interests be immaculate and something to remember. Smiling, he stands in front of the mirror, checking out the passion marks left there by Khadija, captain of the Terror Squad cheerleading team. Dang, she tried to suck the blood out of me. I hope this shower washes it off, he says while going to the shower. After showering, Paul returns to the mirror. Ugh! He growls and flexes while putting on his yellow Nicole Miller boxer briefs and t-shirt. I'm the king of the world, he shouts. Paul! Paul! Yeah, Ma? Keep the noise down this early in the dang morning. Okay, Ma, he says while grabbing the throwback Michael Jordan North Carolina blue warm-up suit he paid $4,000. Only me and Mike got one of these. I got the home blue and he's got the white away one. So let the haters hate. Sure enough, this thing here gonna strike terror in the terror squad. Retro Mike, oh boy, I can't wait to see the look on the homie's face when I step in, especially with these matching white and Carolina blue trim Air Jordan 11s. I thought you were only gonna wear that Air Jordan thing to the championships, asked his mom. Mrs. Patricia Ford, or Miss P, as her students call her. She's a student at Malcolm X Elementary. She strikingly resembles Magic Johnson's wife, Cookie. The only notable difference is that Mrs. Ford has the most beautiful hazel green eyes. Paul's father, Big Frank, is a civil engineer and the ultimate son's dad. Whatever Paul requested, he delivered, always giving Paul advice about the do's and don'ts in life. Never mess with a friend's woman. Always say what you mean and mean what you say. Stand up for what you believe in. And always know that the art of perfection is pursued effortlessly by the dedicated. Big Frank kept an eagle's eye on Paul. And if he couldn't keep his eye on him, he laid a bear claw on him. Hey boy, sit down here and put this good meal in you. Paul sits down and starts tearing into the bacon and eggs his mother made. Hold on, boy. Have you lost your darn mind? You ain't say grace. My bad, Dad, Paul says grace, while his mother and father sit back proudly watching their son. Paul gets his caramel-colored skin and size from his father, while he gets his curly hair and hazel eyes from Mom. At the least, the Fords are very proud of their son. Not only is he gifted athletically, he's also very mindful and obedient. They both thank God Paul hasn't been deterred by the gold and glitter permeating the troubled streets of New York. Because of his basketball reputation, Paul's a totally different person at school. He thinks his ass doesn't stink and gets away with any and everything. The females at Booker T don't help keep his ego in check because all the girls sweat him like a new Gucci bag. Not a day passes without him collecting dozens of phone numbers, hugs, offers of sex, and countless kisses. Even guys be jocking. Paul amazes himself. Continue to keep straight A's, 29.8 points a game, and still screw the daylights out of the honeys daily. He thinks to himself, it's hard, but somebody's got to do it. After lunch, he runs into Big Butt Brenda. Brenda's around 5'6", 135 pounds, brown skin, with hair down to her butt. Kinda Ananda Lewishy, pretty, but ghetto as you know what. She's loud and lives down the street from Paul. She's been trying to have sex with Paul for the last 2 years. He generally ignores her, but today she has company. Her friend looks exactly like Vanessa Williams. Dang, this must be the new chick that all the fellas been talking about, he thinks, while smiling with his eyes. Hey, Paul, Brenda yells, like she hasn't seen Paul in 2 years. Yo, what up, ladies? This is his usual opening, but today he adds, where you buy her at? Buy who? Brenda asks. Her, indicating Brenda's friend. Boy, I ain't buy nothing. Man, you mean to tell me somebody let you get a hold of this precious jewel without so much as a down payment? He continues. You must got insurance. What she need insurance for? Asked Brenda. I can show her better than I can tell her, Paul states while grabbing his crotch. Brenda's friend, Cheryl, remains speechless. She has no idea what just transpired, but looking at that Air Jordan throwback sweatsuit and the fine dude wearing it, she down for whatever. Remembering the bet, Brenda starts running her game. Paul, Cheryl and I have a surprise for you. If you slam or hit at least 30 points tonight, we'll show you the time of your life. Paul knows what this is leading up to. Knowing Brenda's easy to manipulate and wanting to get with Cheryl before anyone else gets that nookie, he says, word? Yo, y'all know I'ma get mines, but right now I need a little incentive with something to help me relax before the game. Brenda looks in her coach bag and pulls out a fifth of Henny. She brought it to help ease the pain she has in her stomach. After a few seconds of thought, they all agree to head towards the back of the school. Whenever students cut class, they hang out in the back stairway. Coach Neely is assigned to hallway security this week. This doesn't bother him a bit. It gives him an opportunity to keep an eye on his players and pick up some extra cash. When he catches a student late for class, he charges $5 to let him slide. He knows this week he'll make plenty of pocket money. After snagging 2 students and collecting $10, he decides to check the back stairway. This is the most lucrative spot, known for where students shoot dice, drink alcohol, smoke weed, and have sex. Cheryl and Brenda split the Henny and are now buzzing. Cheryl starts it off. "You trying to damage these goods, huh?" Paul replies, "I'm saying, Ma, I just want to see what you all about." "Oh yeah," Cheryl says while pulling on the strings to Paul's sweatsuit. "I see your soldier is at attention." "I'm saying, Ma, if you with it, you with it." "Ooh-wee," Cheryl says as she pulls out Paul's John and puts it in her mouth. That's right, baby." Paul finds himself sweating more than usual as Cheryl sucks and pulls on him at an unbelievable pace. Paul is moaning loudly. Don't stop. Get this nut, baby. Just like that, Ma. Yeah." While Cheryl is at work, Paul rubs Brenda's nookie. He really doesn't want to get it with Brenda. But this is a package deal, and 2 is always better than 1. Paul continues sticking his finger in and out of Brenda's coochie, and he feels that it's gotten extremely wet. She's moaning. Oh. She's squirming, telling Cheryl to hurry up. Meanwhile, Cheryl's caught up in her own rapture, and she starts to make loud sucking noises. "Go ahead and come in my mouth. I want to taste you." Brenda cuts in. "No, he's going to hit me from the back." Coach Neely stands at the door. He can't believe what he's hearing, but the sounds have gotten him excited. Every now and then, he slips and screws one of his students, and these thoughts are on his mind as he hears the erotic sounds of sexual ecstasy. He eases the door open and politely says, "Excuse me, what's going on here?" No one hears him initially, so again, he clears his throat and repeats himself. "I said, what's going on, Paul?" All activity stops as their eyes are fixed on Coach Neely standing there with a Bugs Bunny grin on his face. Paul is trying to push Cheryl away and pull up his sweatpants while removing his hand from under Brenda's skirt. Before they can get themselves together, Coach says, "It ain't no fun if the coach can't have none." Brenda nods at Cheryl. Knowing that they could get expelled, Brenda's nod was all it took. As Cheryl starts giving Coach a blowjob, Paul decides he may as well release his nut by screwing Brenda. "Lift your skirt up." "Damn, she got a fat ass." "Bend over and put your hands on the railing," Paul instructs. Impatiently, Brenda yells, "Is you gonna screw me or what?" "Yeah, Ma. Just put it in then," Brenda whined. "Aight," said Paul. "What the? I'm bleeding." He lifts his shirt and notices more blood on his sweatsuit jacket and pants. "Dang, I messed my gear up. Man, $4,000 down the drain. I gotta go change." "Coach! Coach!" Paul yells. "What the hell are you fussing about over there?" Coach asks. "I got blood all over me. I'm bleeding somewhere," Paul states. "Let me take a look at you." "You ain't bleeding nowhere, boy." "Must be Brenda." "Brenda? I know she ain't fucked me while her period is on." "Looks that way. That nasty, low-down trifling." "Go ahead home. Get fixed up and meet me back at the gym early before the game starts. I'll get with the principal and let her know you felt a little sick." "All right." Meanwhile, Cheryl and Brenda are in the bathroom. Damn, girl. I ain't know my period was gonna come on like that. That shit was crazy. Girl, he was working it. That John was feeling so good. I thought he came in me. I gotta give him some more of this coochie. What'd he say? He called Coach. So do you think he knows it was your monthly? Nah, and if he do, he better not ask me to pay for that darn $4,000 throwback. Shucks, ain't no John worth that. Well, I just hope he scores 30 in slams because we don't have $300 to get them dudes from the terror squad. Brenda's boyfriend, Fitty, is the starting center for the terror squad, and he swore that he wouldn't let Paul get his 29.8 average nor dunk on him. Paul sits in his room, blasting his favorite rap song, All or Nothing by Carleon. Big Frank walks into his room to let him know to get ready to leave in about 30 minutes. On his way out, he says, "Son, take your time tonight. I heard some scouts from Michigan, Wake Forest, Louisville, and St. Joe's are coming to check you out. And by the way, I bet your mama we could cooking that you would drop 30 points and grab at least 20 rebounds tonight. I don't want to lose." Big Frank is walking up the steps. As he hears the doorbell ring, Paul can't hear a thing because he has pumped up the volume to 10. Carleon's You Can't Fade Me is now playing and drowns out the rest of the world. Mrs. Ford is in the dining room grading papers from her kindergarten class. She's rushing as usual, so they won't be late leaving. She admires the fact that her son always wants to be early. He just shoots around until the rest of the team arrives. Mrs. Ford hears the doorbell ring as well. She's glad her husband decided to go get it because she really needs to finish her papers. Big Frank opens the door. "Yo." He's shocked as he looks into the face of a man with dreadlocks holding a pistol. "Hey, pussy. Oh, where the dope day?" demands the man as he pushes Big Frank back inside the house. Two other dreads walk in behind him. "Hey, Yankee boy. If you give us the dope and the loot, we not going to shoot ya now your woman's in." Big Frank is confused. "What are you saying? What is he saying? I can't understand. What dope? Dope is in drugs?" While telling them that he doesn't sell any drugs, he realizes that he no longer hears the music coming from the basement. They instruct both Big Frank and Miss P to lay down on the floor while they check the house. They ransack the entire upstairs, living room and kitchen, searching everywhere except the basement. Big Frank is praying Paul doesn't crank his music back up, but his thoughts are interrupted when one of the dreads shoots him in the back of the head. They also kill his wife. Still, they find no dope or money. Paul hears the shots and heads up the stairs. He is running full speed and almost trips over the bodies when flying out of the basement. Panic sets in as he sees what has happened. Oh my God. What the fuck? Mom! Dad! Who in the hell did this? From the look of how his parents were executed, it seems to him that whoever did this was looking for something. He has a flashback about his homeboy Chico's situation. His homeboy Chico had come home from college early and was in to surprise his parents when he found both of their throats slashed. Chico ran to embrace his parents, holding his mother with tears in his eyes. The police arrived and found him still holding his mother. What it all boiled down to was that the police didn't believe him and charged him with first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison. Paul makes his decision. He looks through his mother's purse, taking the $300 inside. He grabs some clothes, a picture of the three of them, and dips. He hears the sirens as he jumps the back gate and continues to run. Across the street from the Ford's house lives Miss Taylor. She's the neighborhood watch hound. She always has the gossip and always seems to witness what is happening. When the police pull in front of the Ford's home, Miss Taylor is there giving her eyewitness account. "It was three of them boys with those long plaits. Them guys that smoke reefers and talk funny. Whatchamacallem? To be in her late 60s, Miss Taylor is still sharp as a tack. In fact, she can still recite poetry and hundreds of Bible scriptures at will. Paul finally stops running and finds himself at the bus station. With $300 in his pocket, he has no idea where he will go, only that he needs to get the hell out of there. He sits on the bench thinking of a plan. He questions himself on why he didn't wait on the police. But thoughts of Chico and the murderers keep creeping into his head. All he could think of was not going to jail or dying. He says in a whisper, I did the right thing. He thinks he is hearing things when a female voice says, excuse me. When Paul looks up, he sees a true symbol of beauty. Chinky eyes, dimples, curly hair in 2 Indian braids, honey brown skin, tight navy blue leather dress, and a super fat ass. Damn, my future wife, he thinks. He smiles to hide his nervousness and says, I'm sorry, I was just thinking you look vaguely familiar. By the way, what's your name? Ashanti, she whispers. She responded, and yours? Paul. They sit and talk for a few minutes, discussing where they are from. Where are you headed, Ma? Algiers. Where's Algiers? Down south in New Orleans. Ah, yo, you do have that country accent. Thanks. So where are you headed, city boy? Algiers. They both smile. What's a city boy doing going to New Orleans? I have family down there. Do you have your ticket? No, Paul answers. Ashanti rushes him to the counter to purchase it. The bus leaves in 10 minutes. After he pays for the ticket, she smiles at him. You knew where Algiers was all the time. He admits he knew, but played along because he wasn't sure of who she was. The last few years of stardom had taught him to analyze more and to play all his cards close to his chest. They sat together on the bus, furthering their interest in each other. So do you have a girlfriend? Nah, Ma. I'm solo like Polo. Is that right? Sure enough. What about you? Well, if you're solo like Polo, I'm by myself. Like a top shelf. Yeah. Don't be too hip, shawty. Why? Because 2 hips make an ass, and I don't do the butt thing. Paul continues to run. Where he is running, he is not sure. All he knows is that he doesn't want to end up like Chico. He runs through the dope stroll, almost knocking down a crackhead that's in the middle of getting high. Watch where the fuck you going, young knucklehead. This doesn't slow Paul down. He just keeps running. The homicide detectives have finished getting their statement from Mrs. Taylor. As it turns out, there was another witness as well. Word has gotten to Coach Neely. He arrives on the scene just as they are bringing the body bags from the house. Coach walked over to where the rest of the team is standing. They are all waiting for the 3rd body bag containing the remains of Paul. Coach walks over to the detective in charge, who's cleaning up the rest of the crime scene. Excuse me? Excuse me, sir. I was wondering if there was a 3rd body found, Coach asked. A question like that generally stirs the suspicion of any detective. As the detective turns to see who asked that question, he recognizes Coach Neely from the local paper. At that moment, the detective figures that it is Paul Ford, the son he's worried about. The detective admires the kid after reading several articles about him, and he hopes the kid won't be found in the house. He tells Coach, we only have 2 bodies, but my guys still have a little more searching to do before we wrap this up. By the way, do you know of any enemies the Fords may have had? No, they were very nice people. I couldn't imagine who would want to do them like this. I hope Paul's alive, Coach said forlornly. Just then a detective hollers out, we found some evidence. We got a light blue tracksuit with blood all over it. We found it soaking in the basement. The more they talk, Ashanti starts to feel that she knows Paul. I've seen him before, she thinks. They're deep in conversation when she reaches into her backpack and pulls out a basketball magazine. He had no idea that she's a sports fan, or even that she likes basketball. You don't know nothing about that girl. Well, I'll take you to the hoop any day. We'll see about that in Algiers. Yeah, we'll see. While she thumbs through the pages, they talk about Jason Kidd, AI, Kobe, and Shaq. She stops speaking in the middle of her sentence and puts the magazine next to his face. I knew you looked familiar. Paul grabs the magazine and notices his smiling face looking back at him. His cover is blown. It's not like he is really hiding anything, but he just doesn't want to tell her about his parents. He asks her if he can trust her, and when she returns the right answer, he begins to tell her about the situation that has him headed out of town. It takes him over an hour to explain about Chico, school, and then how he found his parents. Ashanti listens intently, trying to be there for him, sensing his emotional needs. She holds it as long as she can, but finally asks, Did you kill your parents? No, are you crazy? The look in his eyes gave her further confirmation. Well, I had to ask. She's sure that she is safe and admires him for having the integrity to tell her his life story without shade. After hearing his story, she feels obligated to share some of her past with him. Ashanti comes from a broken home. Her stepfather repeatedly raped her at a young age, and after telling her mother, she would often be blamed for enticing him. What stayed in her mind most was that deep down she knew her mother was aware. She had grown up listening to them argue and beat each other up, but always ended up sleeping with each other until they passed out. It was those times that she dreaded most. Her stepfather would creep into her room for one more nut. Over the years, her pain turned into his pleasure, and soon her insane stepfather preferred her over her mother. This caused many fights in their house. She told Paul about this and noticed the empathy in his eyes. So where are you coming from now? I'm just returning home. I lived with my Aunt Dot in Philly for the last 3 years. Where at in Philly? Uptown, West Oak Lane. I got family at Uptown West Oak Lane. My favorite cousin, Ray Ray. She gave him a flirtatious smile while asking, You ever do it on the bus? Although Paul was an experienced youngster, doing it on a Greyhound was not on his list of adventures. Ashanti tells him about an episode in Philly. She had just picked up some stockings, and as she turned around, she noticed two elderly men staring at her. She continued to bend over, noticing how excited both of those old geezers became. In the process of paying for her items, one of the old men tried her. He stood with his jaw on hard. Leaning to one side, he said, I bet you can't handle this turkey baloney. Being a true hustler, she smiled at him while saying, Oh man, you'll need at least 3 of those and a couple $100 to even look at this coochie. She continues to tell the story and noticed that Paul is massaging his jaw inside his sweatpants. Despite what she sees,